Yeah, certainly something I'm pretty proud of to have played that many games. It's not not something you plan on when you first get drafted. Certainly when you don't even know you're going to play one game, 250 games seems a huge amount of footy. So I've been able to get there, and still really looking forward to the challenges that lie ahead this season and next. Oh, look, I'm not sure. I mentioned in an interview yesterday, if you've had 3 football careers, you'd sort of know where you're at and where you're going to end. But as you're living it for the first and only time, questions like that are really hard to answer. But certainly really proud to get this milestone and looking forward to a huge game on Friday night and the rest of the season. I'm really not looking too far ahead. There's not a lot of need to. It's really important not to wish away the present. Right now, I've achieved a milestone I'm proud of. Right now, we've got a huge challenge against Hawks on Friday night and a really important second half of the season. So, the questions have largely been based around when it's all going to end, probably because that fits into a neat Twitter headline, which is what you guys are under pressure to provide. But the honest answer is I don't know any more than you guys do. Yeah, look, there's that, and there's certainly a lot of players in around the league who are playing really good footy well into their 30s. So, you'd be silly to wipe out anything. You look at Nick Rewalt, who's had a tremendous year this year after having a few niggles last year, and plenty of players at our club. Heath Scotland, who won the BNF last year, was a 32-year-old. So, yeah, I think age is just one factor. You've got to remain open to the future. I don't think it's had a huge impact on sort of on-field what happens with me. I think certainly off-field it's freed up a little bit of time and probably a little bit of mental space just to focus on some other things. And I think it's been good for the club. It's given some other leaders the opportunity to step up and have more impact and involvement around the club. And I think that's been really healthy for the group as well. Yeah, definitely. Still, it's a really special thing to be able to play AFL footy and something that you really shouldn't take for granted. I think that challenge of competing with 21 of your mates against 22 other professional athletes each week is a wonderful feeling and very hard to replicate elsewhere in your life. And certainly the feeling of relief that comes after a hard-fought win is not like any other feeling you experience in your life. So yeah, I certainly enjoy playing just as much now as ever. Oh look, I think I did a long interview yesterday, and that was a small part of it. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's not something that keeps me up at night. Certainly some of the new rule changes take some adjusting to, but it's not a huge issue for me. Yeah, absolutely. So good to have him back in the mix this week. He's one of our leaders and a really important player for us. So be looking forward to seeing him back in action. Just to be mentioned in the same bracket as Gaz is obviously a huge compliment. But yeah, look, there's probably too many comparisons made in our sport. At the end of the day, what's important in our sport is the team aspect and again, just focusing back onto the challenges that are at hand. I don't think that makes it more important, but it's an important game for us because they are, one of the real benchmark teams of this competition. And if we're going to improve, they're going to be, for us to improve, they're the teams that we've got to come out and play well against and be able to beat. So it's a huge challenge for our group. And, I've never played in a Carlton jumper and beaten the Hawks. So it's it's a massive challenge for us and one we're looking forward to. I think there's no doubt our best footy is as good as anyone, but we, some of our lapses differentiate us from the top sides. So that's not a unique phrase that our best footy is good enough. There's plenty of sides like that. North Melbourne are like that. Essendon, but those really top teams probably don't have as big a drop-offs in games. So that's where our challenges lie. We've still got plenty of work to do to push up to challenge those sides, but at the same time, it's not incomprehensible that we can get there pretty quickly. I think we've improved a lot of aspects of our game, particularly playing against counter-attack teams. Historically, when teams have had the +1 in our forward line and created that and turned the game from more of a contested game into a counter-attack game, historically that's been something we've been troubled by, and that's something which traditionally Hawthorn have been really good at doing. So we've done a lot of work on that, and I think we've made a huge amount of inroads in that area, as a lot of the stats will imply. So I think that's that's the reason why we go into this game confident that we can give it a good shake. Yeah, look, he's been great. He came in with a game plan that he wanted to implement, and I think after the first 2 or 3 rounds, he reassessed with the sort of group he had here and what our strengths and weaknesses were, and the traditional or the preconceived game plan he wanted to bring in, and he made some changes pretty swiftly, and from them he's been incredibly, he's always been incredibly clear on what he wants, but he was still willing to change when he realised that the group had unique strengths and weaknesses compared to groups in the past. So I think since then we've played some good footy. We've sharpened up a few areas, and I think the second half of the year we can keep improving. Yeah, obviously Rats was here for a pretty long period of time and have some good knowledge of a lot of the players. But that's no different to Johnny Barker, who coaches for us, who's been at Hawthorn and coached and played under Alistair Clarkson for quite a long time. So that's sort of really the industry these days. I guess Rats will have that knowledge of the playing group, but certainly our game style and structures have changed quite a lot this year, so he won't have intricate knowledge of that. Look, it's not something that's been spoken about, but certainly we'd prefer to win the close ones than lose them. I think you can really look at that in both ways. You can look at it as a positive that no team's been able to blow us out of the water, but by the same token, we've got to be good enough as a group to stand up and win those close games. And it's not luck that causes you to lose close games. It's skill and all those things you work on during the week. They're the difference between winning and losing close games. There's no doubt we have to sharpen up in a few areas to make sure we turn that stat around. Yeah, I don't think they'll. They won't play this week, but certainly the line hasn't been drawn through them. They're both sort of senior type players at our footy club and leaders of our club, and you can certainly see an opportunity for them later on in the year. I think it just shows that we are starting to build some decent depth at the club, and not just that. If you look at our injury list at the minute, it's a pretty healthy list, whereas in years gone by there might have been 6, 8, 10 players out of the top 22. We've probably only got 1 or 2 guys not available who are regularly playing in that top 22. So I think that's the really healthy bit to come out of it, and I think the fact that we've got some good players playing in the VFL is a sign of strength for our club. Yeah, well, it's lots of different things. It's how you how the ball goes into your forward 50 line, how you structure up with your backs and mids. The sort of setup you have in your forward line. It's a whole host of things that go into to fixing that issue. Certainly hopeful. Yeah, I think if you're not living in hope of having some success, there's not a lot of point in being around the place. And in 2005 at West Coast, I think we played Sydney maybe in round 7 or 8 and beat Sydney by 10 odd goals. And I remember thinking after that game just how much they were struggling, and that was when Andrew Mitro came out and said they were playing a terrible brand of footy, and the whole footy world really had the slows with them. And you fast forward 16 weeks and they've won they've won the flag. So and that wasn't me as an outside footy person thinking about the Swans at the time. That was me out on the ground competing against them, thinking they were really struggling and they were good enough to win the flag that year. So things can turn really quickly, but a lot of things need to go right for that to happen. So yeah, certainly we live in hope that success isn't too far away, but we acknowledge that there's still a long way to go. Yeah, look, it's something I sort of spend a lot of time thinking about a couple of years ago, almost in a bit of an obsessive nature, but the nature is you do your best, you work hard with the group and do the best you can, and what will happen will happen. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, so to dwell on it is a bit of a waste of energy. Yeah, I think it. When you're younger, you spend your whole footy life just looking to what's coming next. I still never sat down and watched either the grand finals at West Coast, or your whole mind is just focused around what the next challenge is. I think there's no doubt as you get later on in your career, you probably do spend a bit more time acknowledging events and milestones more so than you would in your younger days. He was great against Essendon, yeah, and he. He had a slip up earlier on in the year and acknowledged that in front of the group, and just the way he's responded has been really impressive, and I think he shows everyone why he's just so important for our footy club going forward. Just a general chit chat, but he was look disappointed with how the game panned out. I don't think that's been any secret. Mick's spoken about that and spoken about him, and a bit like Wadey, Wadey made a blue. He's come out and rectified it and been really important for us, and we're looking forward to Chris to do the same for the rest of the year.
Serious question to finish off with. Been a bit of chat about the possibility Rebecca might be pregnant. She's wearing loose clothing.
Is that right? No, nothing to report there. You'll be the first to know. Well, you can't be half pregnant, can you? Last time I checked, but I'll let you know. Cheers.